Geronimo Stilton, the renowned journalist and editor for the Rodents Gazette in New Mouse City, was no stranger to adventure. Yet, as he sat in his cluttered office, sipping on a strong brew of cheese-flavored coffee, the mysterious letter that had just arrived on his desk left him deeply perplexed. The letter was simple, scrawled hastily in an unfamiliar poor writing. "Come to Clocktower Square at midnight if you want to save New Mouse City." Geronimo pondered the possibilities as doubts gnawed at his mind. Was it one of his cousin Trap's orchestrated pranks, or was something sinister afoot? As the clock ticked closer to midnight, curiosity got the better of him. He grabbed his trusty detective's hat and tail-pocket torch, determined to unravel the mystery. The night air was cool and crisp, the stars twinkling like diamonds above New Mouse City. Geronimo scurried through the alleyways, his whiskers twitching with anticipation. Upon reaching Clocktower Square, his ears perked up at the echo of chiming bells. Midnight had struck, but the square was eerily deserted. He was about to lose hope when he noticed a shadowy figure lurking by the fountain. "Hello!" Geronimo called out, heart pounding like a drum. The silhouette turned, revealing Sally Ratmausen, an old rival with a penchant for sensational stories. "Sally, what are you doing here? Did you send the letter?" Sally nodded, her eyes serious. "Listen, Geronimo, I didn't know who else to trust. There's a conspiracy to flood New Mouse City's streets with soggy cheese. If we don't act now, our city will be a terrible, cheesy mess." Though Sally had been a thorn in his paw, Geronimo sensed her sincerity. Together, they concocted a plan, tracing the dastardly scheme back to Dr. Chadarius, a mad scientist obsessed with creating the world's stinkiest cheese. By dawn, thanks to Geronimo's quick thinking and Sally's insider knowledge, Dr. Chadarius' plot was foiled. He was caught red-pawed, and the city's cheese became as safe as Stilton once more. With a newfound respect between them, Sally promised to lay off the sensational stories about Geronimo, and he admitted perhaps not all reporters were so bad after all. New Mouse City was saved, the two adversaries having become unlikely allies in the process. Once upon a time, in the bustling town of Mouseville, there was a clever mouse named Geronimo Stilton who loved adventure and mysteries. One cold and starry night, as the town clock struck midnight, Geronimo crept into the clock tower with his whiskers tingling in excitement. Something peculiar had drawn him there that night. As the gears ticked and whirred, Geronimo caught sight of a shadowy mouse lurking near the clock's intricate gears. His heart skipped a beat. "Professor Ratigan," he gasped quietly to himself. The notorious villain, known for his devious plots, was trying to stop time itself. Professor Ratigan was a cunning mouse with a penchant for mischief. He wore a tattered gray cloak that fluttered like ghostly wings as he moved stealthily through the shadows. Geronimo knew he had to act fast. He tiptoed closer, trying not to make a sound, for fear of alerting the villain. But the floorboards betrayed him with a squeak, and Professor Ratigan turned sharply, locking eyes with him. Well, what have we here? A meddling mouse thinking he can thwart my plan?" Ratigan sneered. Geronimo gathered his courage and piped up. "Stopping time is wrong, Professor. Think of all the chaos it will bring to Mouseville." Ratigan just chuckled. "It's too late for speeches, little mouse," he retorted, pulling a lever that made the clock hands pause ever so slightly. Just then, an idea sparked in Geronimo's mind. He remembered the stories about the clock guardian, an ancient mouse spirit who protected time. Geronimo reached into his pocket and pulled out an old pocket watch his grandfather had given him. He closed his eyes, whispering words his grandfather had taught him. To his amazement, the clock in his hand glowed softly. Suddenly, a warm breeze filled the tower, and the clock guardian appeared, shimmering like stardust. "Return the clock to its rightful state," the guardian's ethereal voice commanded. In awe, Professor Radigan stepped away, his plot foiled by Geronimo's quick thinking and the Guardian's magic. Time shouldn't be trifled with, the Guardian reminded them as the gears of the clock resumed their rhythmic dance. With a twinkle in his eye, Geronimo waved the pocket watch, and the clock guardian vanished as swiftly as it had appeared. The threat was over, and Mouseville could rest easy once more. As he exited the tower under the gentle light of the moon, Geronimo felt a deep sense of pride, having saved the day yet again. In the bustling city of Massatropolis, there lived a young mouse named Geronimo, full of curiosity and courage. His days were filled with adventures in the hidden nooks and crannies of the city, always eager to uncover the secrets that lay hidden from ordinary view. But today's adventure was unlike any other. Across town stood the Grand Mousequit's Clock Tower, a magnificent structure that had tick-tocked its way through time for centuries. It was said to hold ancient secrets and enchanted mechanisms known only to a select few. Rumor had it that the mischievous rat, Professor Radigan, had taken an interest in the tower. Known for his notorious antics and clever contraptions, Radigan was always up to something devious. One sunny afternoon, Geronimo decided to venture to the clock tower and see for himself what all the fuss was about. Sneaking through the tiny openings and dusty hallways, he eventually found himself munching a piece of cheese right in the heart of the tower. But his heart nearly stopped when he heard a sinister chuckle echoing through the chamber. Peering around a massive gear, he saw Professor Radigan with a sly grin, tinkering with a strange contraption. Realizing the situation, Geronimo's eyes widened. He had to stop him. Creep down one narrow wooden beam, Geronimo was unseen until he was just a tail's length away. Suddenly, Radigan glanced up, his eyes as quick as his schemes. With a smirk, he reached out and pressed a large, ominous button on the side of his machine. A screech pierced the air, and the enormous clock hands came to a halt. The sound of alarms echoed throughout the tower. "You'll never discover the secrets of the clock, not while I'm here," Radigan bragged, waving his paw toward a jumble of gears and springs. But little did he know, Geronimo had more than cheese up his sleeve. Remembering the old tales his grandfather told about the tower, he focused on a smaller lever nearby, known only to the ancient clock keepers. With a quick leap and a tug, he pulled the lever. To Radigan's shock, the clock whirred back to life, and his contraption powered down. His surprise turned to frustration, yet with a swirl of his cape, he retreated, disappearing into the shadows, a parting grin of knowing he'd be back again. The inhabitants of Massatropolis went on unperturbed as time ticked onwards, unaware of the thrilling escapade that had taken place above them. Geronimo dusted off his paws, even more eager for the adventures that tomorrow would bring. In the bustling city of Tick-Tock Town, where time ticked audibly and gears groaned rhythmically, Geronimo was known as the Master Clocksmith. He was a small, spry fellow with a twinkle in his eye and an unmatched ability to fix anything that ticked or talked. His days were spent in his workshop tinkering, adjusting, and perpetually casting watchful glances at the large gears lined up like sentinels. But today, something unexpected happened. Geronimo was sipping his warm cocoa, peering out at the bustling town square. He heard the dreaded sound, a colossal crunch from the central clock tower. The town square froze as murmurs spread about the city clock's malfunctioning. Without hesitation, Geronimo splashed his cocoa down, whipped on his tool belt like a superhero donning a cape. He dashed towards the towering structure. Upon arrival, he found the giant gears awry and sluggish as if they were sighing under pressure. Time seemed suspended in Tick-Tock Town as everyone awaited in hushed anticipation. With clockwork precision, Geronimo inspected every gear, every pivot, his mind ticking faster than the failing clock. Amongst the chaos, there it was, a hapless gear, misaligned, innocently disrupting the harmony. Geronimo's eyes lit up like morning sunshine. With a mighty heave, He lugged his trusted wrench from his tool belt. Climbing high, he twisted, turned, and adjusted like clockwork, every motion a symphony, each twist a maestro's gesture. Sweat glistened on his brow. His nimble hands moved with dexterity honed by years of precision. The crowd below watched with hopeful eyes. Finally, after a climactic twist of the wrench, the gears interlocked perfectly. With a great rumble, the clock tower awakened, tick-tocks dancing spiritedly. Then came the music, the symphonic chime of bells reverberating through Tick-Tock Town. Laughter and cheers erupted as the city's rhythm resumed, an appreciative nod to their beloved clockmaker. Geronimo wiped his brow and, with a humble smile, climbed down. Tick-Tock Town breathed again, its heart, the great clock tower, beating in harmonious cadence. Geronimo was the city's hero, not solely for mending machines, but for restoring the essence of time itself. In the bustling city of Mouseville, where the streets were lined with towering cheddar skyscrapers and the aroma of cheese filled the air, an unexpected hero arose. Geronimo Stilton, the famously adventurous gentleman mouse who dearly loved a good book and a cup of steaming cheese tea, found himself embroiled in yet another thrilling escapade. It all began on a clear, sunny morning when a nefarious mouse named Ratigan hatched a plan to seize control of the city's cheese reserves. With his cunning allies, the cheese sneaks, Ratigan set his sights on the Grand Cheese Vault, a treasure trove located beneath the mayor's office. The clock tower chimed ominously as darkness fell over Mouseville, and the citizens were oblivious to the looming danger. However, Geronimo had caught wind of Ratigan's wicked scheme from a torn piece of parchment he discovered in the library. With his heart pounding and ears twitching, he knew he had to act swiftly. Gathering his dear friends, with Thea his fearless sister, Trap his quirky cousin, and Benjamin his eager nephew, they devised a daring plan under the twinkling stars. As the cheese sneaks crept into the vault, Geronimo and his team, working together like well-oiled gears, intercepted them in the nick of time. Armed with quick wits and a dozen strategically placed cheese traps, they outsmarted Ratigan and his gang, capturing them with comedic flair. Ratigan, fuming and flustered, could only flee in dismay as his plot crumbled as easily as a wheel of brie. The next morning, the sun shone bright as the citizens cheered for their savior. The streets were festooned with colorful cheese banners as the mice of Mouseville celebrated their victory. The mayor, a rotund mouse with a grandiose mustache, awarded Geronimo a dazzling golden cheese medal in a heartwarming ceremony that echoed with applause and gratitude. And so, with the city safe once more, Geronimo and his friends returned to their peaceful lives. Sharing stories of bravery and friendship over cheese crumpets and hot tea, Geronimo wondered when the next adventure might whisk him away into its thrilling embrace. Until then, he cherished this moment, for in Mouseville, even the smallest mouse could make a big difference.